Hey you, Nina here. You are officially listening to Triggered. Can we play with that wherever you get your podcasts? And if you're not following me on Instagram at Drama Therapist Nina, now's a great time to do that. Otherwise, here we go. We have Lee Hopkins on today's episode. And if you are interested in authenticity, on belonging versus fitting in, yes, I said it, belonging to your own journey and creating authentic relationships, not only with yourself, but also with the people around you, this episode is for you. Yes, we're going to be dealing with lots of different triggers that pop up. In particular, Lee's going to add in a very unique element in sharing through the lens of a Black trans man. Okay. We're going to laugh a lot in this episode. We're also going to breathe in this episode. So get yourself a journal or a good friend to dialogue with what comes up for you. Yes, I want you to talk about these things. I want you to percolate on these things. Yes, I want you to lean in, my friends. So, without further ado, I'm curious. Are you ready to play? Welcome to Triggered. Can we play with that? You know that moment when your emotions ramp up in an instant, leaving you feeling helpless, frozen, or out of control? In that moment, you've been emotionally hijacked, the very definition of triggered. And I want to ask you, can we play with that? I'm Nina L. Garcia, drama therapist and empowerment coach of Houston Creative Arts Therapy. Join me as we discover ways to empower you and the people who mean the most to you to transform hard conversations into teachable moments. Triggered. Real playful, real respectful, real empowered. Let's take a breath. Hi, Lee.
Hi, Nina.
So before we introduce you more, I want to go ahead and set the intent, as I do with every episode. We are setting out to have a human-to-human conversation. We may get into some sticky or uncomfortable moments, but we are consenting to transform those hard conversations into teachable moments. Do you consent?
Yes, I do.
Thank you so much. Okay. So let's get into the introducing you. Lee Hopkins here, folks. And this is just a great time for you to share who are you with us in this moment? What identities, what roles, what about your life right now do you want to share with us? We want to hear.
What identities do I have? Well, I'm Black, I'm a trans man, and I coach people and help them make friendships.
So sweet. So I coach people and help them make friendships, right? It's like universal thing that people need.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yes. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And let's keep going. So, internal weather check-in is the next bit that I want to check in on. And this is like before we even go into your moment, before you share with us, right? All we know about you, Lee, is that your name is Lee Hopkins, that you are a
Yes.
Black trans man, and that you help people, right, get into friendships, right?
Right.
So, before we check in with the rest of your story that you're going to share today, what's going on with your internal weather? How are you feeling about all this?
Wow. My internal weather, I can imagine that I'm on the beach and it is kind of warm. So maybe it's 90-ish degrees. I'm feeling kind
Mm.
of like a little bit nervous, but a little bit, safe that I could run into the water and be cool.
Ooh, okay. I like we've got some temperature differences in here. We're going to come back to that at the end of the episode and see if anything shifted. Thank you for checking in. So, one of the things that you also did, right, that everyone does is they share the title of this moment that they want to share, right? It's a moment from your life you're going to share with us. And your title was Rejected and Running. Right. And I think running and rejection are really big themes for people, right?
Mm.
Especially when we talk about triggers. And avoidance is a really big thing that people want to do. So I also ask, Lee, what's your takeaway, right? What are you hoping that people are going to take away after you share this moment? And I'm so glad that you said, rejection is something that's in the mind, right? It's a feeling, it's a perception, it's something that's in the mind, right? And right, and even when it is fully and truly manifested behaviorally outside, right, when someone really is actually rejecting us and pushing us away, and that even that can be a gift, right? And I take that as like
Hmm.
we can learn from that, we can take that, we can gain something from that. So I'm really I'm like I'm in it to win it. Let's hear this story. What would
Uh,
you share with us today?
all right. Yes. So take a little breath there. And so I grew up in a small town in Ohio, and I've always felt like I was disconnected from people. I didn't know how to make friendships. I didn't feel like I was doing anything right. So I thought, well, I had to leave and find my own tribe because I've been hearing that, go find my own tribe. And
Mm,
so I had an opportunity to go to college. And in college, I had the opportunity to meet new people from all over the world, different states, backgrounds, countries, all of that.
yes.
And I still felt a bit disconnected.
Mm,
I still felt like I couldn't be my authentic self. I was learning that being authentic is one of the things that you need to do to make friendships.
mm,
So at this point in my life, I'm in Ohio and I have come out of the closet as a lesbian,
mhm,
and I don't really, I'm not able to really connect with my family
mm,
and also the other people that I just keep meeting. It doesn't seem like I'm having a real genuine connection with them. So I figured that the entire state of Ohio is wrong. It's
mm,
backwards. It's
mhm.
their fault. And I need to leave. So I need to be somewhere more progressive like California. So I had an opportunity to move to California, and I became, I feel like, a new person. I met new people who were interesting and on the scene. I did a whole lot of karaoke, and I had people
Mhm,
high-fiving me, and people, bartenders knew my drinks, and things like
mhm.
that. I felt very welcomed, but I still felt disconnected. I felt like the people really didn't know me. They didn't, I couldn't tell them my deep thoughts and secrets. And I'm thinking, well, the reason why I'm not connecting with these people is because I'm not being my authentic self. And that would be stepping into this role as a trans man, being that
Mm,
trans man. I didn't even want to tell them because I thought that they would reject me right away.
mhm, mhm.
So I didn't. Instead, I thought, well, California is all messed up. I got it wrong and I need to move again. So I ended up moving again to Chicago, where I am today. And when I moved to Chicago, I found the right people, the queer community, to help me put the language to
Mm,
what I was experiencing, help me
mhm.
get the kind of medical care and emotional support and legal support that I needed, everything that encompasses transitioning.
Yep.
And I still felt disconnected from them, even though we had this amazing connection through this experience that very few people have. That
Yeah.
very few people have a transition
Mhm.
medically, physically, or however. I felt like I didn't know them and they didn't know me. And it's like, well, geez, I keep running, I keep looking for something. Maybe I don't have the answer. Maybe I don't have the answer and I need to go find someone who has the answer. So I
Mm,
ended up going to therapy, counseling,
mhm.
group counseling. And in group counseling, we talked a lot about my behaviors and helped me reflect on experiences that I've had. And after some years, I still had difficulty making friends. So I learned that in therapy, I can do a mindset. I can think about my mindset, change my mindset, go out to places and go be your authentic self, and you be who you are, and you will attract the kind of people that you want in your life. So I thought, well, haven't done that. I'll give it a try. And one night in particular, I went out to a comedy club, and I thought, I'm going to meet someone really awesome and we are going to have a great time. We're going to have a great discussion.
Mhm.
And sure enough, I did. I met someone, we were talking, having great conversation. And I kind of steered the conversation towards queerness and trans, just because I was curious about, and I wanted to share. So they had mentioned that they had never seen a trans person before. They have no idea about the experience. They don't know why anyone would want to transition. So I thought, Nina, this is it. This is it. I'm going to share my truth with this person. I'm going to be my authentic self, and we are going to be the best of friends. Because look how well we're getting along right now, so far. And so I said, I'm a trans person, and his face dropped. he was stunned into complete silence, and he left. He didn't say anything else to me. He left the entire venue. And I was just like, wow, wow, that hurt so bad.
Mm-hmm.
That hurt so bad. But then
Mm-hmm.
I had some people to help me process that. And after years, this has been years, um, and reflecting on it, I can see why it's beneficial that that happened. I can see that, well, I'm laughing at it now, but I'm thinking about how in my past, I would have wanted to chase him down and tell him how great of a person I am, why you should love trans people, why you should love me, and
Period.
how important it is for you to understand me. All the things that he clearly did not want. He clearly did not want them. And you know what? He helped me see that I don't want those things either. I don't want to put that energy into chasing him down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I ended up learning a lot from that experience, and
Yeah.
it was so interesting also to live the thing that I was most afraid of for my entire life, having someone reject me for me finally opening up to being my authentic self. Like, I didn't want to open up to people because I thought that they weren't safe, they weren't going to be accepting and welcoming. So I kind of self-rejected myself. I self-rejected.
Yeah.
It's like,
Oh
I'm not a
yeah.
part of this group and I know you don't want me here, but I'm going to hang out in the corner until you discover me. and then and then I finally found someone who was like, I see you and I do not like you. And goodbye. Yeah.
I'm sitting here. Thank you so much for sharing, Lee. The feeling I have is almost like my body has walked up to the precipice of a cliff and was like bereft. I think that's what it was,
Mm,
bereft. Um, so you have this moment, I think, and it's still, I think this bit of, there's like this absence of, well, surely, I think my brain is like trying to compute this, right? It's like, well, surely he must have said something before he left, right? Like it wants to comfort this discomfort of this really uncomfortable moment, right? This really painful, rejecting moment.
hmm
But he said nothing and he walked away.
He said nothing. Yeah, he said nothing at all. He
Yeah.
And reflecting on that experience for
Mhm.
him, now that I have this awareness of how I have felt, I have room for considering how he may have felt. And I
Mhm.
just think I stunned him. If I would like think about the venue, we were at a comedy venue,
Yeah.
and he probably had a deeply seated belief or a fear or something of the nature that wasn't exactly fun for him to talk about. It
Mhm.
was absolutely surprising because he had never seen anything like me before, and
Mhm.
maybe he had a whole different view of what I would be. And if there was I don't know if there was something that he believed that about trans people being wrong or backwards, or may want to hurt you or deceive you or something
Mhm.
like that.
Mhm.
And here I was, one that he couldn't notice, he couldn't spot, he couldn't see. It just changed his whole perception, and it probably frightened him in some way, or surprised him in some way that he just couldn't speak. And
Yeah.
so that helps me kind of see that, well, he really chose what was comfortable and safe for him, even though it hurt me.
Yeah.
It wasn't He wasn't trying to, because at the
Wasn't
end of the day,
angry.
he didn't say anything to me like, I hate you and I think you're a terrible thing and I wish you would never exist. He didn't say anything like that. He didn't try to change
Just
me.
removed
He
himself.
just removed himself. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so many universally important topics in what you have just shared. I'm so grateful for your courage in being able to come up to the ledge and share with us. And for those listening and watching, if you feel that discomfort, right, take a breath into it and just be with it. Right? Let's see if we can
Mm,
find some comfort together in the discomfort, because this is real life. And some of what you're sharing, so even at this little bit at the end, sometimes we playfully refer to this in my sessions or in groups that I lead as the glitch. And this is when like you bring something into somebody's life that their brain just doesn't know how to compute. And so it's like, they're like, I don't know how to respond to this. Right. And it's like the glitch. It's right.
Yes.
And then they do this like odd behavior, like he just ups and walks away. You're like, what just happened? Right. He's glitching, right? He didn't know how to compute. And so I think that's one way to play with really hard moments like this, is when you bring something, even the most beautiful, honest thing forward about yourself, that's just your truth, right? Just owning your truth, not hurting you, not hurting anyone else, and somebody doesn't know how to respond to it. I think I want to echo back what you have already said, is that it is not about us, it is about them. It is about something internally within them that they are struggling to compute or doesn't make sense, some misrepresentation, misunderstanding that they're internally don't know how to deal with. And so I think this was, gosh, and this may be one of the best responses I've heard to somebody who cannot handle the situation. They just remove themselves as opposed to aggressing.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So I just, wow. So there's that. So there's the glitch, there's the internal experience. And then there were 3 other things. I'm hoping I can remember all of these things, because this is just like golden nugget, golden nugget, golden nugget. Here we go. The very first bit that you'd mentioned, when you're talking about jumping from Ohio to California to Chicago, right? And it's like, why do we do that? Right. And you called it, right? You were like, I was running, right? It's this, I'm avoiding, not even avoiding, I'm trying to find something, right? That I do not have where I'm at, right? For some reason, right? And so for you, it was jumping from state to state. And I think really for the listeners and viewers out there, this in your own life, ask yourself, am I running? Right? Am I running to avoid something or running towards something? Because we see this not just in physical moves state by state, we see this in relationships. I jump from relationship to relationship, Nina. I don't know why. I wonder, let's explore that, right? Like there's a reason there why our body is doing that. And I guarantee it's to protect us, but to protect us from what? Right? Or to protect us and trying to get a sense of what, right? Like what is it searching for? I think, gosh, we did an episode a few episodes ago. This reminded me, you move state to state. We had Bo Bissett was on talking about moving from country to country. Like that's how big that sensation of I need to belong. I am a human being and I need to belong, not just with others. I need to belong to myself. It's such a big human basic thing. And I think we like minimize it and we're like, no, I just need to fit in. Fitting in is not belonging, you know? Oh man, there's such a value in belonging. So thank you for sharing that and giving us that visual, because I mean, job to job, people, home to home, right? Whatever it is, if you are jumping from place to place, right? Time to just take a breath and be like, what
Absolutely.
am I running from or to? Right?
Because I have definitely done the job to job and the city to city, within home to home. I've done all that within there too. So
yeah.
it is.
And I think also I want to remark on this. I think for a lot of people, there'll be judgment in that. And it's be like, well, what are you running from? You need to just stop. I think it also is maybe a part of the process, right? Maybe you could not have grown into those pieces if you'd stayed in Ohio. You just would not have even had the opportunities, right, that California presented. And then you wouldn't have had the opportunities in Cali necessarily, the Chicago presented, right? It's a journey. We're on a path, but it is our journey.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And if I could just comment on that, and like speaking to your point, it's like, well, yeah, moving from Ohio to California, I had an opportunity to feel safe as coming out as lesbian, because I was in a space that I thought I felt safe. So I had room to move around. And then I was prepared I never lived in a large city. And so moving from California, it wasn't nearly as big as Chicago, but it was bigger than Ohio. And I learned there that I can make it somewhere on my own. So move to Chicago alone by yourself into a city of 8 million people, because I had the experience that helped me feel more safe moving into that place. And then I could learn and I could grow. So, I mean, just to your point, I'm just like recognizing that, wow, yeah, that does sound right.
I love that. Thank you so much for giving us that insider info and that insider perspective of like, again, like what were the points for you? These were milestones, right? These were milestones that these different spaces afforded you And I think, right, because you were listening in to what it was that you needed, right? I'm not getting this still. What's the next step? Right. And we love that growth oriented mindset over here.
Right,
Right. Like,
right.
what's the next step? So that was the first bit that you brought up. Then there's this bit that keeps coming back that I know we start with it, we middle with it, we end with it, is authenticity. Right. And I want to pose a question to you, because, especially because of what you do and how you help people. When I think of authenticity and alignment, I think that my thoughts match my feelings, match my behaviors, right? That is when I am in alignment. And if only my thoughts match my feelings, I'm only partially aligned, right? If I'm not behaviorally doing what I'm supposed to do that matches my thoughts, feel like I'm only partially aligned, right? If any two are only there, right? If all three of them are good, I'm great. But if none of them are there, I'm misaligned. And how it can feel like I am wrong, or like I'm showing up wrong in the world, when really it's just, no, wait, hold on, Nina, right?
Mm.
You need to realign, and you need to ask yourself, what is it that is missing? What is it that you need? Right? I love that question. What do you need? But I'm curious, when you say authenticity, what does authenticity mean for you?
Wow. I really like what you said about being aligned.
Yeah.
And so I'd like that when authenticity, I think authenticity is something that I will be and do whether no one else is around. And so that's how I feel about authenticity. And I've always thought about how other people might view me
Mhm.
and be absolutely terrified of that and try to adjust, thinking that, well, if I make this adjustment, then they'll like me. And so that is just not authentic. And I found that in these experiences in the process is that, you know, creating boundaries is a way to show up as authentic. When I look at the guy who ran from me, I was like, well, he has boundaries, and the boundaries mean saying yes to himself, as in yes, as in I am this person and I'm feeling afraid, and my thoughts and body or the line is telling me to get the heck out of here. And so that's what I'm doing. And that is a boundary. And I'm thinking, well, that's what I need to do too. I have my experiences, and some bring me joy, some make me afraid or whatever, but how I feel and interact and in those situations, I want to be present for, I want to be aligned with. And so I find myself living my truth, as in honoring how I feel, honoring my thoughts and my actions in any situation.
So honoring my actions and thoughts in any situation.
Yeah, absolutely. I used to not tell people that I was trans, and it
Mhm.
made it difficult to have friendships because I had a really good coworker, and I wanted to chat with him about how I wanted to date a woman. And I was like, well, they haven't seen me since my transition, and I don't know how to. I want to come to him with some insight, and I want some support, but he can't support me because I can't tell him my truth. That's just ruined my friendship with him because I can't
Mhm.
tell him my truth, so he can't
Mhm.
support me.
Oh
And
my
it's like,
gosh.
wow, well, I don't know what to do here. I have to be authentic with him, but I can't. I'm not getting what I want all the way around, and it's just a blah.
Right, it's this vicious cycle. It really is
Yeah.
this vicious cycle. So this brings us perfectly to the third point that I have. So a lot of the work that I do is like anti-supremacy work, and it's this idea of like, how do we say that like humans are humans and we're diverse, right? That like gender supremacy shouldn't be a thing, that sexual orientation supremacy shouldn't be a thing, that I could keep going, right? Racial
Right.
supremacy, ethnic supremacy, religious supremacy, right? That those things shouldn't be a thing if we're going to accept human beings as we are, which is naturally diverse.
Mm.
And one of the bits on this that I think people really struggle with or realize, and it's like the light bulb goes off, and you brought it up and I was like, oh, we've got to talk about this, is when we're trying to protect ourselves from other people rejecting us, other people misunderstanding us, or misrepresenting us, that we will often hide a part of ourselves. And what this looks like when I talk about it through when I'm trying to help someone realize, hey, that's an internal oppressor part, right? Is it's really easy to notice when you're externally oppressing someone, right? Like, oh,
Hmm.
that's Nina, I said this to that person and I did this to that person, and I was like, why am I putting them down? Why am I, and I was like, external oppression is a lot easier to recognize. Internalized oppression is a little bit more tricky. And it does require a lot of honesty, but I don't know how many people have walked into my office, and we can be really specific, right? This episode's going to go out in June month. We're celebrating Pride. Whoop, whoop. I've got pansexual pride over here, definitely genderqueer pride over here. And I think, I don't know how many people have walked into my office struggling with that idea of, I'm hiding myself. I'm not telling people about me. I feel bad about this. And I'm like, all of that is internalized shame from external oppression at some point. It's a narrative that you heard, and what your body said, because it's trying to protect you, is it said, we're just going to internalize that, because if you do it to yourself first, they can't do it to you. Right. So we'll just do it to us first. It's internal oppression, y'all. We don't want that. We're not trying to fit in. We're trying to belong to ourselves, belong to other people, right? I want people to own their truth without oppressing themselves and without oppressing other people. So we got to recognize when internal oppression shows up.
Right on.
So thank you for bringing this up.
Yeah.
Right. I also want to normalize, though, at the same time, right? I want us to recognize it, and also recognize the same thing, like with the moving, it may be a part of the journey. It may not be time to share. It may not be time to share with everyone, right? And I think that really should be, it's your journey, right? I couldn't tell a client or a friend, oh, now's the time for you to come out, right? Now's the time for you to share your
right.
fill in the blank. It's so personal, and it really, you have to be ready to hold your truth.
Absolutely. Because if somebody had said, well, you're a trans person, and pulled me out of the closet at some time, I would have been terrified, and I probably would have moved again, to be honest.
Protect yourself, right? Not the right time. You weren't ready yet.
Absolutely. I had to be able to say those words myself. It's all internal. So I had to believe it and feel it and be aligned with it. No one else can do that for me.
No one else can do that for you. We're just going to repeat that for the listeners and the viewers, because it's your work and no one else can do it for you.
I love this. And the little birds come and they land on your finger as you turn into a cartoon. And yeah.
I mean, it's, and this is one of the ways, we play, we're playing with really hard things here still, right? And we can laugh about these things. We're in a safe space. We've consented to be here, right? There's a lot of mutual respect here and holding of one another, which I'm so grateful for, and grateful for the opportunity for, right? And I want more people to be able to experience our experience and be like, you know what? Yeah. I can have this conversation. I can do this work. I saw them do it. Now here's who I'm going to do it with, or here's how I'm going to do it. Right. Yeah. And even that is a spectrum, and that's a journey. I tell people, they're like, I'm not ready. I'm like, you don't got to be level 5 ready. We have this leaning in spectrum. I'll put it in the show notes for people to hear, but we have this leaning in spectrum, and it really does invite people to say, if you had a spectrum from 1 to 5 on how courageous you could be to lean in on this, right? 5 is the most you could lean in, and 1 is the least you could lean in. Okay. Now the goal is not to get to 5. It's just the most that you could lean in. The goal is to get to honoring where it is that it feels right for you. So if 1 is the least you could lean in, that means you're journaling about it and you're thinking about it, and you're willing to journal about it and think about it. And that's only with you. And if that's all you do, and that's how you feel great honoring yourself, and you don't ever need to tell anybody about whatever this thing is, then great, because at least you're honoring your own relationship with yourself and not hiding it from yourself.
Right on.
Right. Mm-hmm. That's beautiful. If you start and end at 1, fantastic, right? Yes. If you go to 2 is, I'm sharing it with somebody I feel really safe and can trust and comfortable with, right? This is like a loved one, a chosen family, right? That's your 2, right? It's really private and personal, right? Then you go to 3. You're like, you know what? I feel a little bit more comfortable with this. Maybe I want to lean in a little bit more, so I honor my truth and my authenticity, right? Then you're sharing it with people who maybe have a parallel experience, right? Maybe in the case of your story, right? Other queer people, other trans people, right? Who have a parallel experience. You know that they're going to understand to some degree, right?
Yeah.
Then maybe you want to take it a little further. You're like, let me go to 4. 4 is like, maybe it's like out somewhere publicly, like maybe it's on your profile, you can talk about, like your Facebook profile, you can talk about it, right? It's public, but only semi-public, right? Because maybe it's not out there for the whole world to see, right? Then there's like your level 5s. like I'm a level 5. I just talked about pansexual pride and my queer genderness, right? That's like a level
Mm,
5. Like anybody in the world could hear this, and I'm an activist for it, and I want other people to talk about it, right? Not everybody wants to get to 5 in order to feel like they're honoring their truth, and that's
right.
okay, right?
Absolutely.
So
Wow.
you are level 5ing it today. Thank you, Lee Hopkins.
Level 5. I love the way you explained that because I feel like as you were talking about it, I have been through those levels, that acknowledgement, trying to share with other people, close people, and sharing with people who have like a similar experience. And then I was just like, well, this isn't working for
Yep.
me, not working for me. So I have to just tell everybody. And well, this is what happened. But I feel
Mhm.
comfortable with it. It all started with internal first, as you said. So that's a really awesome scale.
Thanks. I really like it because it makes things easy. Even when
Yeah.
I myself run up against things, and this is nothing, people are like, oh, Nina, what do you have to work on? Lots of things, y'all, lots of things. Right. But I'm honest with myself around like I wasn't always at a level 5 with pansexual pride. Right.
Hmm.
And there are other things that I'm still working on. I'm not, and I may never be at a level 5, but I think what I would want, in people watching our conversation and hearing about how you have progressed, how this scale can help people progress, is that it's possible for you to change. It's
Hmm.
possible for you to change any of your thoughts. If Home Slice, who'd sat across the table from you at the comedy club, came into my office and was like, Nina, I had this moment with, this guy, and he told me that he was a trans man, right? And I'd be like, do you want to lean into that? Can we lean in, right? And yes, like yes, the answer is no matter where you are, on any
Hmm.
spectrum with any identity or role, I promise you we can lean in on it if it is not bringing you absolute joy and peace and happiness.
Right.
So
That's wonderful. Snap to that.
Lee, we have traipsed through so much territory with you. I'm so grateful for your sharing, for the willingness to go back and forth, and the listening as well. I'm curious now, as we're nearing the end of the episode, what are your takeaways? We set out to have a hard conversation, turn it into teachable moments. Do you feel like we did that?
Wow, without a doubt, I feel like we have done that. We have really made my story safe for people to put themselves into, for themselves to see themselves in the story wherever they are in their journey, and be able to realize that there's something that they can learn from it, and whatever they learned, it's theirs to
Mm.
share if they want. But I really think that to your point, I really think that we did a fantastic job. And it's been really interesting to hear your insight and reflection on my experiences. As I've learned a couple of things.
I'm glad to hear that. I do. I will also say, I'll say the same thing I say to my clients, like everything I say is an offering. You can take it or leave it. You can trash it. You can, run with it, or you can just leave it on the table. And so I'm really glad that some of it has been something that's helpful, insightful. One of the lines that you said that I just wanted to reflect back is that belonging to where you are on your journey. Right. As you
Mhm.
had mentioned that, and I just wanted to say it again. I don't know that we can stress the importance of owning where you are on your own journey.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, if I could just comment on how that just felt to me, even every step of the way, my journey, like sometimes I think about being trans and having top surgery and everything, and why I don't look like this, or how I'm not muscular like that, and the acceptance. I'm like, well, that's just not as far as I want it to go. And I know people just in alliance with the queerness. Some people don't transition medically, and that's your journey. That's great. You don't have to be anything but yourself. So I really feel like that kind of acceptance is really important, as you said.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No matter where you are on the journey, no matter how you've decided, right? Your body is your body. Your thoughts are your thoughts. Your feelings are
Mhm.
your feelings, right? It's your journey. Man, so valuable. So here we are, right? We're close to the end. Internal weather check out. If you were to check in with your internal weather now, what's going on?
Well, I'm still at the beach, but I'm in the water. I'm, I'm in the water and I'm just splashing around having a good time because I feel really comfortable and I feel really cool and connected.
Oh, I love, thank you so much for being willing to step into that again. Thank you.
Yes.
Lee, where can people find you? Because I know they're going to want to find you.
Well, you can find me at patternsofpossibility.com. I'm there. You can find my website. You can find me at my website and on all social media. You can find me at Patterns of Possibility.
Okay. Patterns of Possibility on social, y'all, and patternsofpossibility.com. It will, of course, be in the show notes. Thank you, Lee. I am filled with, in my own check-in, so much gratitude. It's like a rising in the chest. It sits across my shoulders, and it almost feels like, yeah, like a halo or like a shawl resting across the top of
Wow.
my head. It's really lovely. The energy that's been created here. I'm really feeling and vibing with it. Thank you for that experience.
I'm grateful for having an experience with you as well. Thank you.
All right, folks, that is what we planned for today. So, thank you for taking a minute to explore your triggers as a human. And if this episode was helpful, if you found anything in this episode helpful, the best thing you can do is share it with someone who needs to hear it, right? We're trying to spread a human to human conversation here. Let's talk about it. Let's lean in. Let's play. So, share the episode. That's what helps new people find us and gets the conversation going. Otherwise, stay curious.